But the first thing I'll say is he told this story about how Crowder went off on him randomly. And a lot of the things that he was saying that, like where Crowder would say something crazy, was always like every time he mentioned it, it was always like it was out of nowhere. Out of nowhere, he said this. Like there was this one story where he's like, they're going back and forth, and then out of nowhere, Crowder just goes, "I own you." Ha ha ha! I own you, as he's smoking a cigar. Mug Club, bitch. I don't know, because here's the thing: is a lot of people, when they tell stories and they're super vague, and then they jump to then out of nowhere he said this. I feel like that out of nowhere is sort of it's sort of glossing over some context. There was something that happened. Either that or you're just making it up. Either that or you're trying to be like where you're not, you're almost paraphrasing. You're not quoting him correctly purposely. I just didn't find the story logical, like when it's just an out of nowhere thing. And also it's just a story that can't be really substantiated unless he has it recorded, which also Dave claims he has recordings. And he also claims that he no, I don't think he has recordings. He has screenshots of text and stuff like that. So I think Dave took like a couple things, like he wasn't being fair in my opinion. So for instance, he's talking about how there was the tardy policy. Now, in that, he also admitted that he was late on occasions for showing up for, I guess, show prep or whatever the fuck Steven wanted him there for. Now, you work for Steven. He's asking you to be there at a time. I understand that. I can't hate on Steven for wanting his people there on time, because I'll just let you guys in. I've had that issue with people in the past that were on the show, and I've had that at times with Wonder and not Skrill as much, but we've talked it out and we hashed it out. And I understand that this is also a creative kind of thing. You know, it's not supposed to feel like a job. So my thing is always like, look, if you can't make it on this time, let me know what time you can make it, and I'll adjust accordingly. Or we'll start without you, and you'll come in somewhere in the middle. Like, there's always like a thing that I understand that, like, this isn't a job. I'm not paying salaries out here. This is still a building kind of thing. Obviously, we get revenue, we get things like that, like to keep the lights on, so to speak. However, I understand that part of, look, when you say you're going to be here at this time, just be here at the time you say you're going to be. If not, just be in communication. Let me know what's going on. Now, would I ever get to the point that I would instill a tardy policy? I don't know, because I don't even feel comfortable with that about myself. Like this stream tonight, I wanted to start at fucking 10, and I ended up starting at 11 something. Just because I just didn't feel like talking at 10 o'clock. That's really the only reason. I was just chilling. I was actually watching wrestling. I was catching up. But I was like, I just don't feel like talking yet. So, you know, I get that kind of part. You don't want to keep it as like, you don't want to keep it so like serious, I guess. But at the same time, Crowder's a guy who's dealing in tens of millions of dollars and big revenue and all that stuff. So it's a different level. The 5-minute late policy thing, I think that's a little extreme. Somebody's 5 minutes late and you make them turn around. Oh, you're not part of the show. I mean, all right, that's a little much. Again, if that's true. Now, There was also where Dave was like admitting to, he was glossing over a lot of things. And he was glossing over how I was getting Opie vibes actually when I was listening to him talk. Where Opie, a lot of the times when he talks about the Opie and Anthony show, he'll say, I've taken responsibility for my actions. And I've looked at my shit. And it's like, what does that mean? Like, I've never heard Opie admit shit on his show. Like, this is what I did and this is how I fucked up. Like I've heard Anthony do. Where Anthony will go, look, I was a piece of shit sometimes. I would come in a bad fucking mood and I would do this and I would do that and he would admit his sin, so to speak. I got a lot of that from Dave when he would kind of get into a thing of like him and Crowder would have issues on something and then he would go and you know, I have my personal mental issues that I'm dealing with and it's like, well, don't just gloss over that because that could mean a whole hell of a lot of things. He admitted he was on medications. He was like, you know, he's taking medications for mental illness and he's very vague on those things. And it's like, I don't know if we can sit there and go, all right, well, Dave Landau seems like a laid back guy. He's a former drug addict. I don't know. Maybe not. I wouldn't be surprised. And I wouldn't be surprised if something comes out because he kept glossing over that some personal issue that he was having in his life. And it's not he has a sick like family member or something. It's separate from that because he separated the two. So anybody that's going to put that out there and go, that's the thing he was talking about. I don't think that's what it was. He kept saying that it was a personal mental issue that he was dealing with that was seemingly interfering in either his performance in the show or him showing up to the show or whatever. And he kept glossing over that. And I think that's not fair to do if you're going to kind of go on this thing of exposing Steven Crowder, then you have to be thorough. You can't gloss over things like I have a mental illness that I'm taking medications for and this personal issue was interfering with the show. But however, Steven Crowder is the piece of shit here. It's like, I don't know if that's a credible source anymore, to be honest, on all these things that can't be substantiated, that can't be proven. So, for instance, here's one. He claims that the reason why he was actually like I guess the last straw, so to speak, with Steven Crowder was that Dave Landau claimed that he had jury duty that he couldn't get out of, which that's fine. And that he had to go to jury duty and he was going to miss a show because of that. And that was the reason why he was basically let go. Now, if this is true, he can sue Steven Crowder. You can sue an employer. You can sue somebody for letting you go for having to go to jury duty. All you have to do is prove that you had jury duty and that you showed up, which is very easy to prove because they give you the proof for your employer when you go to jury duty. I just went last year. So in my opinion, I gotta believe that Steven Crowder is smarter than that. I have to believe that, especially with all the lawyers he's got around him. So to be honest, I gotta be truly honest. I don't believe that fucking story. I would believe more that it sounds like Dave Landau may have been using jury duty as an excuse to miss the show, and maybe Crowder was like, well, prove you have jury duty like you would to an employer and it's all good. And this is all conjecture right here. I'll admit that, but show us that you have jury duty, and maybe he couldn't show proof that he had jury duty. And that was where Crowder was like, all right, well, it's fucking, I'm done with these excuses. I don't know. I just was perceiving it that, Landau is admitting that he has these issues that he won't go into. He refuses to go into, actually. But he admits that part of those issues were, in fact, interfering in the show and interfering with his relationship with Crowder. And to be honest, a lot of his stuff sounds very much, like paranoia. Like where he goes, oh, well, Crowder had this thing where he had the "Don't Talk Dave" button, where if he put this button, if he pressed this button, a light would come on where I wasn't allowed to talk. And he's calling that censorship. Now, let's understand that Crowder does a different kind of show than, let's say a Tim Pool, Misfit Nation. Who else? Crowder doesn't really do a conversational show. He does more of a, I'm going to do this, I'm going to say these things. I'm basically ranting, and then my guys are chiming in here and there. And Dave's point is to basically come in and chime in with the funny shit, with the comic relief, and then also to more or less get Crowder kind of rolling too, because that used to be the chemistry between them, is that Landau would say something funny and then Crowder would bounce back on him, and they would sort of ping pong something back and forth for a little bit, and then they go back to the talk. So they were very good at that. However, I understand if Crowder, now if I'm gonna dig deep into this story, if Crowder had more of a thing where it was like, this is a button so that Dave understands, like, all right, this is the point where I'm gonna go into sort of a mug club thing or a bit or something like that, so I don't want anybody to talk and cut me off. Or maybe this is a rant that I'm gonna cut up and put out as a clip on YouTube, so I don't want it to be interrupted. I understand that. And so maybe he has a thing in his studio where here's a button, when I hit that, just don't talk. I think that's possible from a production standpoint. I think that makes sense. Now, this is where I'm saying that I think Dave has a little bit of paranoia, where I'm perceiving it. I could be wrong. Is that he perceived it as that was the button that he would press when he thought I was being more funny than him. Like this was the thing, so that I wasn't being more funny than him, like that he would get the funny kind of moment. To me, that comes off as more of a comedian kind of paranoia. That's his world is comedy. Dave is a comedian. He's a thoroughbred comedian. So yeah, I'm just saying, I just feel like there was a lot of him sort of filling in things. Again, that's what I'm doing right now, so he's much closer to it. Obviously he is it. So I'm just saying it, perceiving it how I'm perceiving it. I just didn't find Dave to be as credible as everybody's saying he is. For a guy to admit that he has mental illness that he needs medication for that affects him personally and him professionally, also that he's a former drug addict, I don't know. I'd like to hear what Crowder's side is. I think it's fair to I don't think I don't think it's fair to throw Crowder under the bus how everybody has been. I'm more, all right, we heard Dave's side, let's hear Crowder's side. I don't find Landau's side to be fully credible. I'd like to see the contracts, but, he claims he's going to post it. I haven't seen it posted. But if he were to post those contracts and they were real, that would really, I think, fuck up Crowder's credibility. So it's still, it's still possible. Just because I'm leaning to one side, again, I'm not even really leaning on Crowder's side. I'm just like kind of like I just didn't find Dave to be credible or logical. And that's just how I feel. That's how I feel. I think I pretty much hit everything that I was gonna say. I think did I mention that he admitted that he fell asleep on air too? Which when he was saying that and he was kind of just like glossing over that, like, no big deal. I fell asleep a couple times. And I'm going to be honest, this is where I started to get into, and I'm not trying to be like, all right, I'm going to speculate. I think there was a point, or maybe there is now, because I was also getting Bam Margera feels a little bit from Dave Landau, where I grew up around a drug addict my whole life. If you watch the Jesse Lee Peterson interview I did, I admitted that well, it wasn't even admit. I talked about how my mother was a drug addict growing up, and there was this thing that I've noticed, and working in security, I deal with a lot of drug addicts. They tend to fall asleep a lot in the middle of things I couldn't imagine falling asleep in the middle of, like, I don't know, a live show that, hundreds of thousands of people are watching. And, the excuse is always, well, I'm tired. And it's kind of like, I'm sure you're tired because you're fucking on drugs. So I wouldn't be surprised if Crowder came out and said that Landau was back on his shit at one point. Maybe he's off it again. Maybe he's still off it. And that would kind of explain a lot of the sort of conversation he was having, or the conversation he had with Michael Malice. And that would also explain why he was falling asleep in the middle of the show. Look, it's fucking what, 12 over here. I've been up since 6 a.m. I'm tired. I couldn't fall asleep right now if I wanted to. I couldn't fall asleep knowing my live stream is on. That would, like, if I went in my bed right now, laid down, and my live stream was on, I couldn't go to sleep. I would have to come in and turn it off. So I'm just saying, you're falling asleep in the middle of important shit. It to me, it screams drug addict. So that's my speculation. I have to say that I could be wrong, and I hope it's not, because I like Dave. I think he's funny. I think him and Crowder made a great team. I think him and Anthony make a great team. So him going back, him going back to Anthony might be a thing. So, yeah, again, could Crowder be this fucking psychopath that just snaps sometimes, and he snaps based on nothing, and Dave Landau was just this angel that didn't give Steven Crowder any reason to snap or try to have some kind of boundaries on the guy, like, hey, like, at least show up for the show on time. It's kind of it's kind of the basis of any job. Show up on time and don't fall asleep on the job. Let's be honest, those are 2 violations that I would fire somebody for. So the fact that he just glossed over that shit just kind of was annoying me. It was like fucking sound like a burnout. You sound like a guy who's like who sleeps on your grandfather's couch and mooches off of him. Like, he's just mad that I'm sleeping. And it's like, yeah, but it's fucking 4 in the afternoon. Of course he's mad. They leave out these little things, this context, that would go, okay, I get why Crowder did that. maybe again, I'm just gonna keep saying it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll even